You are tuned in to the Blacked Out Couch podcast.
We're back on the couch this evening. Yours truly, Princess.
Welcome back to the Blacked Out Couch podcast.
Let's go ahead and check in with the sisters.
And I just want to give everybody that's been involved in this journey their flowers for having the courage and the passion to take these steps with us.
I think people need to understand that therapy is beneficial for everyone and not just people who are suffering with mental health problems.
Yeah.
Everyone can benefit from therapy.
I'm just a guy who believes in mental health. Like I always say, you need to quit being a bitch and go to therapy sometimes. I got to say it every time. To all my fellas out there, just go to everybody's, but specifically the fellas. If you in your feelings, quit being a bitch and go to therapy. It ain't always about whatever you think it is. Sometimes it's just to be about the man in the mirror who needs to go do some healing.
It brought on mental illness. One day I was fine, the next day I was not great at all, completely different person.
It is a blessing to know that, this podcast has created a platform for us to truly heal.
This first season has been both rewarding and challenging in multiple ways.
No, to be honest with you, I'm angry. I am guys. That's why I hate talking about it. I'm angry. I'm still angry at black people. This is it's bull crap. It's our culture. It's all of that stuff and tied, embedded inside of it. And it's just and we still point the finger at everyone else and make it seem no, it's us. We're the freaking problem, man. I'm shutting up.
You good, bro?
Nah, you good, bro. Yeah. This is what this place is for. But you have every right to feel the way that you feel, overall in general. And I think we all would agree.
Show all the emotions. That's why we on the couch. Oh my.
Trauma is normal. Losing a loved one is traumatic.
You're expected to nurture. You're expected to take care of. You're expected to support and to.
This season of sitting with the sisters has been phenomenal for me because I take little nuggets. I promise LaShawn to be on here dropping words and I'll be over here
Just like traditions are passed down, our programming is passed down. So the programming from slavery, we still see that permeating through our community now.
Unmute, family. Unmute.
Oh my goodness.
We was muted. Oh.
We need some healing, y'all. We was just over here
Listen,
talking.
It's her fault. Okay. So I'm just going to put that out there. Can y'all hear me now? Can y'all hear me now? We good to go? Okay. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Blacked Out Couch podcast. I'm your host and your co-moderator, Mr. Rodney Lee.
I'm your co-host and co-moderator, Princess.
Okay, so what I was saying before I realized I was muted was I want to thank everybody for tuning in with us tonight. This has been a very productive, very interesting first season for the Blacked Out Couch podcast. And one of the things that we did after every episode was we did the unpacking sessions, which was more of a co-ed affair. And so that's what this is tonight. Tonight is going to be unpacking season 1, and we're going to be reviewing some moments on the couch. So I'm glad everybody was able to join us tonight.
Yes. We have been really waiting to be on camera, brothers and sisters together. Yeah.
Have we?
Yeah. On camera? Yeah.
On camera together?
Yeah.
My wife, she's a little she's one of those that kind of shoots for the stars. I don't know if I've been anxious to be on camera And I'll talk about this, but one of the ideas behind the show, I guess we can talk about the history of the show.
Sure.
Can we talk about the history of the show? So one of the ideas behind the history of this project was that we felt like we needed two separate panels, a panel for the brothers and a panel for the sisters, because we felt like that we had our own conversations, our own healing journeys that we needed to be on with our own peer groups. And all season long, I kept saying, I don't think that we ready to sit down as a community yet. So shout out to Miss Devin, my sister. Happy birthday, by the way. Miss Devin has been pressuring us to do sort of this co-ed scenario. But if you ask me, I didn't think that we was ready. I thought that we had a little bit more healing to go as the two separate panel groups, but I'll stay out of that.
Yes, please do. You're here. You're here. You know what I'm saying? So for those of you who might be like, who is this woman and this man on the screen? Well, we just dropped Rodney and Princess, but we are also the founders of Blacked Out Couch podcast. It's a podcast that's aimed towards talking about mental wellness, healing, and toxicity within our community. It has been shunned for generations. Some might say that it's part of what got us here in a good way, and others might say it's part of what got us here in a bad way. Either way, we want to hear what you're thinking. We want to open up this dialogue to unpack some very difficult and traumatic experiences and thought processes that we have as a community so that we can start healing and moving forward to reclaim the royalty that we deserve.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that part more, so I won't disagree with my wife on that. What do you think? Should we start bringing on our guests? Well, let's bring on the brothers and the sisters. Let's see who we got on the couch with us tonight for this live unpacking. Okay. Look like we got a full house.
We got lips popping, melanin popping.
We got brothers and sisters out here. Okay. This is gonna be interesting
all
right
popping.
Here. This is gonna be interesting right here.
Now, before y'all speak, we done already took the embarrassing moment. Don't forget to come off mute before you talk, y'all. I'm gonna be healing from that for a minute.
I don't know how we messed that one
You
up.
think I'm gonna be able to come back for season 2?
What you asking me like I'm in charge?
Who we got on the couch with us tonight?
Somebody unmute yourself. Somebody got to talk.
I'm Bert Rogers. I'm a mental health therapist here in Kansas City. Been doing this for about 10 years. 10 years now. Glad to be here. Always glad to be here.
Thank you. I loved watching you throughout the season. I'm like, he calling me out on some stuff. You called me toxic more than twice. I hope you know.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Brother Rogers. I always look forward to having you on the couch with us, man, and just bringing us back to earth from a clinician standpoint, man. So definitely, man, we appreciate you being here with us tonight.
Thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it.
Right on. Who else we got?
Peace and blessings. What's going on, people?
Oh, man.
I say it all the time. Sometimes, fellas, especially fellas, but this goes to everybody. Sometimes you might need to quit being a bitch and go to therapy, get you some healing, get you some understanding. It ain't just about you. It's about those who you impact. And that's part of what having a legacy is, what do people remember you as. And that's not for just you to judge. That's third party. That's right. You can't claim I'm a good person if nobody around you would agree you're not a good person. So sometimes you need the outside perspective to make sure you move still on the right path. But yeah, I ain't nobody. I'm just a brother who believes in mental health. If I sound a little funny, it's because I'm fighting COVID, so my voice might be a little in and out tonight. But peace and blessings, y'all.
Right on, bro. Right on, man. Hey, we wishing you a speedy recovery, man. And it was a miracle, man, that you even joined us tonight, man. So definitely, man, peace, love, and blessings, bro. Appreciate you as always.
For sure. And look, while you trying to downplay who you are, just to follow with mental health. For those who don't know, the beats that you've been grooving to,
let's put it out there,
on and off the couch, that mastermind just graced you with his presence.
Let's put it out there. G-Don on the slap. G-Don on the slap. One of the other things that he did this season, as well as be a panelist member, but he provided the soundtrack, the sounds, the groovy beats that you hear that you heard all through the season. So definitely, man, he is very valued, very appreciated here at Angela Marie Publishing, man, and we always love to have him.
100.
Love, fam, love.
Right on.
Thanks. All right, one of the sisters. I need to hear some women's voices now.
I was about to, but that's cool. I kept hitting unmute. Okay, muted ain't ready yet. Okay, unmute. Okay. But hey, I am Nico. So excited to be here. I have had the most amazing time during this season, sitting on the couch with the sisters. I am president of the board of Lift to KC organization. Miss Devin's on here, founder of the organization, just with an emphasis on mental health. Also, I'm a travel agent, so if you've got anything going on in that area, my Day by Day Destinations is my company. But I just like to say I'm here because I'm still here. Like, been through so much, and I am still here, y'all. And I am still here with the capacity of continued healing and the capacity of bringing others with me. I do have a passion for grief. It is such a major piece of mental health, and sometimes we don't connect it to it. Sometimes, not unless it's this major grief event, but it could be a small, simple grief event that is most definitely related to mental health. But I'm so happy to be here tonight. And happy birthday to Miss Devin. You see these earrings? She got me these earrings, so I wore them today.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll see you. Well, hey, look, Miss Nico, sis, as always, love to hear your voice. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we love having you as always.
Thank you. Thank you.
One of the brothers.
I mean, that's okay. I'll jump on because it seems there was one lady left. Why not go ahead and take that spot? That's what I was waiting for. But this Donald Wiggins, I jumped in the season probably about midway, and hopefully, I've impacted some folks, on the panel, and definitely have been impacted. So, looking forward for the future of this project, and then like my homie Holly Rod say, I hope y'all heal, and me too.
Right, Mr. Wig, as always, man, love having you, man. You my brother from another mother, man. We go back to the age of 14, so we older than dirt, and we've seen a lot. But it's a blessing for us to have lived this long, man. You mentioned one of my catchphrases. I don't know if you heard earlier, but I have a new phrase now. It's y'all hope I heal, right?
Yeah.
So I just want you,
right.
Going forward, as we head into season 2 and into the off season, I want to make sure everybody understands where I'm at mentally after this first season. Y'all hope I heal. And we appreciate having you, Mr. Wig.
For sure.
I'll live up to that. I hope you heal.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna come off of you.
Hello to the panel. I'm sorry, I meant to say hello to the panel too. Don't want to be rude. You know what I mean? Hello to everybody.
Right on.
Well, hey guys, I guess I'll go now. I was trying to balance it out because my sisters, we gotta take up for each other, but I'm Devin Elise. Like my sister said, I am the founder of Lifted KC, which is a local nonprofit in Kansas City focused on mental health with emphasis on creating safe spaces for men. I'm also a life coach with Anchored in Hope. And last but not least, I am the author of newly published journal called Sit in Your Shit, thanks to Angela Marie Publishing. I just want to give kudos to the Hendersons for creating such an impactful platform. This season has been more than fulfilling for my spirit. Sometimes you get in these positions and you think that you're going to be the one pouring into people and helping people heal, but this season has actually helped me heal. It's actually helped me identify some areas that I thought I had healed in and some that I thought I had learned that I need to heal from. So I'm grateful for the brothers, for their insight. I'm thankful to see men taking such a platform to be transparent. And I love my sisters. We had a time, and I'm looking forward to season 2. So let's get this unpacking going.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Shout out to Miss Devin. If you ain't got your copy of Sit in Your Shit, make sure you go order that. It's available on Amazon as well as on our website, AngelaMariePublishing.com. Thank you, Miss Devin. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't think that you was gonna show up since it is your birthday, girl. And I've been telling my wife all week. I said, boy, I can't wait till we get on so I can call Devin out. She done sat up here and been on my top about getting this co-ed sit down all season. You got
So you should have knew I was gonna be here.
I'm glad
I got something to say. No.
Thank you. I'm glad you're here.
You guys got my full support. I love y'all.
Right on. Much love to you as well.
Yes, indeed.
All right, who else we got? Out here?
Right, I guess I'll go next. Hey, this is your big bro, gang type Mike in the building. You know what I mean? I pop in and pop out. Had a lot going on this season. Want to say what's up to the panel. Happy birthday to Miss Devin. Hope you have a blessed one. You know, it's the best that you had one yet. The best one you had yet. Excuse me. But nah, it's been a good journey. You know what I mean? It's been a real good journey. Me, I'm more of a observant person. You know what I'm saying? So I like to sit back and observe a lot. But you know, I'll chime in when I chime in. Y'all know when I chime in, I chime in. So nah, just glad to be here and ready to go ahead and unpack this season.
Right on, man. As always, big bro. Thankful to have you here, man. You know, we've had a journey as well. You know, we go back some years, and you know, I think, man, one of the things that I think really just kind of warmed my heart from this past season is how many of my close friends and brothers that I've known for decades or more that were willing and excited about getting on and opening up and being vulnerable, man. So definitely, man, I appreciate you, man, leading the charge, and thankful that you're here.
Yeah, if it wasn't for you, I definitely wouldn't be here. This is not easy for me, and I'm sure it's not easy for anybody else. So, it's a start for me. So I appreciate you as much as you appreciate me. Believe that.
Right on. Yeah. Who else we got on the couch? Was that everybody? No, JB down there. What's going on, JB? Can you hear us? You in a position to speak?
Might not be. He had the kids.
Yeah, JB over there playing daddy daycare, baby. Yeah. JB is a dedicated and devoted father and husband. Okay, y'all. He's been married what is about 19 or 20 years now. It's been a while. There he is, JB. Go ahead and speak for yourself, man. I was going to give you all your kudos.
I appreciate y'all. I was just having some technical difficulties, but Jonathan Brown, JB, aka self-proclaimed Superman, aka Kevin Samuels Advocate. What's up, y'all?
My man. I see what type.
AKA the pot stirrer. You know what I'm saying? Let's get it going.
I see what type of energy JB on, y'all.
Let's go.
I hope he heal. Get him a shirt ASAP.
I got it. Feeling.
Okay, so what we gonna do? Listen, we really do appreciate everybody that was able to join us tonight. All jokes aside, this does, like Mr. GT said, this does take a lot of courage. It takes a lot of bravery. It takes a lot of willingness, man, for us to get on and have some of the conversations that we've had throughout the season. So, man, I just really appreciate y'all, man, because this was do you want to talk about how this thing got started? Like the real reason
why I got started. I don't know.
You don't think we should tell them?
No, I don't think we should tell them.
I think we should tell them.
Go right on here.
So I just want to spend a couple of minutes, man, just to talk about how this project actually came to be. I spoke about it a little earlier when we talked about sort of the show format with the two different panels. But believe it or not, this idea for this show was something that we came up with last year in 2022. We were in the middle of a heated fellowship exchange. Heated fellowship is what my mother-in-law calls arguments. So I've tried to redesign, kind of remix my vocabulary with that. So we were in the middle of a heated exchange that I don't think it started off as a heated exchange. Just to give you a little bit more backstory. So a few years back, I had a cousin, one of my cousins who's more like a brother to me. I had a cousin that was actually involved in a hit and run accident. He almost lost his life. And they didn't think that he would walk again. Thankfully, they were able to get to the scene, get him to the hospital and rush to surgery. But they didn't think that he would walk again. And, so he started his healing journey physically, of course, but he had a lot of mental and emotional penalty from that experience, right? And so we actually were meeting with him, Angela Marie Publishing. We were meeting with him. He was actually wanting to open up and kind of talk about his story because it was a hit and run that still remains unsolved to this day. And he wanted to tell his story. So of course, he reached out to us at Angela Marie Publishing. So we were having meetings with him. And everybody knows me. I'm a writer at heart. That's my first love. And so, he was talking about telling his story sort of through social media posts and that sort of thing. And for me, I'm like, man, you need to write a book, right? Like, let's sit down, let's write a book, let's really put this story out here, right? And he was kind of giving me a little bit of dissension that I didn't like, right? Because I feel like I'm an expert on these sorts of matters. And so I was pressuring him, right? I was kind of on his head about it, look, we need to be, just buckle down and do it. Like, I know it's going to be a lot of work. I know it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of vulnerability, but let's just buckle down and do it.
Yeah. And this is where I'm going to go ahead and step in. And this is quite literally how the conversation went. You have to be ready for that. Writing is a lot. It's a lot. Not necessarily the process in terms of editing it and getting it published and stuff. There's publishers like us out there, not that part. The emotional part of having to revisit that experience, right? Of having to dig up those emotions. How vivid are you going to get with the experience of that accident and the experience of the healing? And that can be jarring for some people. And so I noticed anyway that our dear cousin, he was in this place where he was ready to open up, but there was a limit to it, a limit to how much he was able to share. And I'm like, well, I think that you should continue with the social media posts and work with us to start a project where we can create a space for people to talk about their trauma. Because as a community, we're ready for that. And as you talk to them, you start to build this community of people to support and strengthen you. And then maybe that can be the oomph that you need to actually write the book. And of course, the expert did not agree with that approach.
I didn't agree at all, right? I didn't agree at all. And I think some of it was, like I said, this particular family member is more like a younger brother to me. I was his mentor for years, all through high school, college, and my young adult life. I kind of taken him up under my wing as sort of a protege, for lack of a better way of putting it. And so I was pretty used to being very aggressive, applying a lot of pressure on him. And my wife kind of stopped me in the middle of a meeting. Now remember, we are in the middle of a business meeting, right? So we try to maintain a level of professionalism. Everybody knows that we're married. We're a married couple running this company, but we try not to go there as we're conducting business. But we kind of start having a back and forth in the middle of this meeting. And I get super upset. I'm talking about I turn my camera off, roll my chair away from the desk. And I say, y'all can have it. Y'all can just do whatever the hell y'all want to do, right? And so long story short, the meeting ended. And me and my wife, we continued having this heated fellowship conversation. And I think the nature of the conversation was I was coming sort of from that standpoint that, you're a woman, so you may not understand how men talk to each other and some of the pressure that we apply as men. And from that, I don't even know which one of us, I think it was my wife, but she said that this sounds like a podcast. And that was where sort of the idea for the Blacked Out Couch came from, because we were in the middle of a heated fellowship. I stormed out of the room and I said, I hope she heals. She stormed out of the room and she said, I hope he heals. And magic was born from that. So that was kind of my idea once the project got started. I was kind of sticking to sort of that stance that I don't think as a community, the two peer groups, the two genders are ready to have a sit down and face some of the difficult conversations.
You were projecting.
I was projecting.
You were
projecting. But I'm always projecting. So what do y'all think about that? What do y'all think about that real quick before we get started? Let's bring everybody else up on the screen, producer, and sort of get some feedback about our story there.
Well, I mean, it's almost like true. You know what I mean? Like that conversation, I think, goes to infinity, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's the Adam and Eve story. You know what I mean? It's the beginning. It's to me, God said to Adam, and then Adam said to Eve. You know what I mean? And from that point on, man, I think this type of conversation, this type of thought process, this type of podcast actually, gives us a safe space to be able to, talk about it and be able to co-ed and become together. And, even if it's not just for the world, at least for our own audiences. You see what I'm saying? So, it's a great story. You know what I mean? It's a great reason. It's a great, motivation to try to actually, figure out why we at each other's head, you know what I mean, and how we fix the problem. So yeah, definitely, I like it.
Absolutely.
I'm in it to win it.
I would second what Donald said too. I think having a platform where you're getting a perspective from both men and women, a man versus woman, is healthy. I think for me, women often process from an emotional place, right? But hearing men process from a state of logistics, then we can intertwine the two. But having that on a platform where there are some people that didn't come from two-parent homes, they never seen interaction between a man and a woman. So having that available on this platform is giving our community something that some of them have never seen before. We're not going to always agree, but having the opportunity to see what disagreement looks like amongst Black men and Black women in a healthy light, I think it's amazing, which is why I agreed to be a part of the project, which is why I was on Rodney's tail. Like, we need to come together on one stage, because I mean, it's just something that's missing in our community. And we don't know who will be touched by seeing the interaction, whether we agree or disagree. So I think I'm grateful for you guys having that experience that led you to creating this podcast.
Right on.
But you know what? I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but it kind of goes to the point, and it's piggybacking right back on Ms. Devin. Happy birthday for sure. But it's piggybacking because right now the type of podcast or the type of conversations that's being had is truly, when it comes to men and women co-ed, it's all negative. What you're doing, you're not doing this, and to have that platform to do it opposite, it's gonna be a uphill battle, but it's one worth fighting. You know what I mean?
I think we heal in context. We don't heal in a vacuum. From a trauma perspective, just from a day-to-day perspective. And I think the idea of having this kind of platform where the primary way that we as men is socialized, but I don't think we're necessarily just logical by nature, or women are just emotional by nature. I think it's also in how we're socialized. Certain things are reinforced in us as we grow older. I think I talked about on one of the episodes about like how if a little guy goes out there and skins his knee, we immediately go to like, oh, well, man up, stop being soft, stop being a bitch, whatever else. And all of a sudden, then this kid learns to stifle those emotions, right? That grows into how we end up expanding into the world around us. We got a whole part of us that's cut off, that we don't know how to communicate anymore. So when it comes down to like how we show up, having this kind of platform, we can expand into each other and actually have some real ass conversations, and to actually have a space to say, hey, I'm coming from my perspective, my side of the world where I was socialized in. Now you're coming from your perspective. And then we actually can heal in context, because I think the idea of being able to talk across the board like bad spades players in that situation, that is that scenario we can figure out some shit. And I think being able to figure out some shit and modeling that for other people to say, no, this is possible. We can be heated. We can be as heated as humanly possible. and still be on the same page. We can be heated as humanly possible and not be disrespectful toward one another. And I think that's a beautiful, beautiful thing in context, because that is what allows people to actually figure out, oh, I got some blind spots I didn't necessarily see. I can, as Ms. Devin says, I can actually sit in my shit, figure out my shit, and communicate that shit to other people. So that's my two pieces about this situation. So I really do enjoy the platform. I think you guys are going to touch a lot of people, and I don't think you realize how far your reach actually is.
And I just want to throw in there real quick, when everybody was talking, I was going to hop in, but I think of it like as music, right? So it's one song. The male has the first one verse, the female got the verse, and then they come together on the chorus. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Or you can think about it as a choir. You got your sopranos, your altos, your tenors, but then you got to harmonize. We got to harmonize at some point in time. So anyway, that's just where my brain was going with that. But yes, it is very healthy to know the exact perspective of the male, the exact perspective of the female. And then this platform allows for us to learn how to mesh those together and how to harmonize and move forward in harmony.
Yes, ma'am.
That's about to be our word. When you start getting out of control, let's harmonize.
When I start getting out of control.
Yes, sir.
I hope you. So one last point.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
One last point I'm gonna make before we go ahead and get started. I've heard a lot of chatter, just in the public and in the community about the artwork for the show. A lot of people assume that that's me and my wife on the cover or on the graphic. But that's not us on the couch, ladies and gentlemen. It's supposed to be representative of a brother and a sister who are upset with each other right now. Even though our story may have started that way, that's kind of where the project came from. The graphic artist that we use, Miss Flo Marie, shout out to Miss Flo Marie Art out of Kansas City, Missouri. She kind of worked with us on the vision, and I kind of sent her some things that I had in mind. And none of the things that I sent her were me and my wife in terms of who those silhouettes should look like. So just to dispel the rumors, that's not us on the cover, but it's all of us on the cover, right? It's you, it's me, it's her, it's all of us. That's what the whole concept behind the artwork is. So I hope we heal. It's a real movement, man, and I'm glad that everybody was able to hop on the bandwagon, man, and hop on board, man. I'm glad everybody bought into this.
Yes. I don't know though.
My dog.
It's a little weird that I got the ponytail and the locks, and she got the little ponytail and the locks, and the little locks in the center. I don't know. You said that it wasn't us. It wasn't inspired by
you don't see my beard? Like, look at this. This is like a Jesus beard.
So because his beard is shorter, that's how you covered it up.
That ain't even a beard. That's facial hair.
Oh.
There's a difference between a beard and facial hair, gentlemen. We'll get into that. Maybe in season 2, man, we'll talk about some of those things. You want to go ahead and get started?
Let's do it.
Let's go ahead and get started. So why don't you preface this first couch moment? So what we'll be doing tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be doing a recap of the season. So we have some highlight clips that we'll play as couch moments. So I'll let Miss Princess here go ahead and preface the first clip so we can get started.
Yeah, so the first clip that we have is going to be focusing on kind of the foundational topic of this season, which is going to be the perception of strength in our community. Episode 2 for the sisters was talking about the strong Black woman. Mantra out there, call it. Is it toxic? Is it essential? Is it a little bit of both? But there's this concept of what strength means, especially to be the strong Black woman. And the brothers also started off on a similar topic. Their topic was, why don't men show emotions? And we know there's a whole stigma around men showing emotions. And so when we were thinking about where to start the first moment, the perception of strength in our community kind of is the foundation of a lot of our beliefs, behaviors, and honestly, just generational thoughts. Whether or not those thoughts are right or wrong, we will get into tonight. But let's go ahead and see what the panelists have to say. You got something else?
Well, no, I was just gonna say we are breaking down this first moment on the couch. We're breaking it down into kind of two separate moments. So I think we're gonna play the clip from the brothers first. Let's play the first clip, and this will be the brothers. I think that we all can agree, the brothers here in this room. I think that we all can agree that society, does a good job of suppressing Black boys emotionally and mentally at a very young age, right? So we do grow up in society, in our day-to-day routine. We do kind of get used to not expressing, not displaying emotion, not wearing our feelings on our shoulder. When does that disconnect usually start for young Black males in our community?
Yeah, I say like 4 or 5. Might even be a little bit younger. Start off with the man ups and the usual stuff like that. Sometimes it's just like, be a man, little boy, even though this is a child or baby, it's like, be a man, hold that in. When you don't have a plan for the future, you don't realize how when you stifle somebody or stifle a child, how that could affect them long term, because you're just trying to make it through the day. Now, you get some grace on that, but that don't mean it ain't fucked up.
Yeah, for sure.
It starts younger. It starts with the what's modeled. It starts with what kind of traumas your folks came in with too as well, and then you get socialized to not having emotions, or which ones you don't show, because we have them. We just don't have. We don't get reinforced in terms of how they're shown.
I want to say that's kind of a trick question, because it depends on your surroundings. Those that were, your siblings, your parents, your kinfolks, those that are in your neighborhood. It all depends. So, we hear 4 or 5, but it actually may be a little bit sooner than that. And one of the reasons I say it depends on those that are in your surroundings, simply because depending on the age, they could already see something that's in you, and they kind of know what you're going to be facing out in your environment and so forth. And so, we use the word suppressed. I don't want to use that. I don't see that as a negative term. Most times it is, but I don't want to use that as a negative term, because it could just be preparation for what you do have to deal with in the upcoming future.
And I think there's a point to what Marcus is talking about too. The idea of I'm preparing you for a world that won't allow you to be soft. It won't allow you to actually feel those emotions. I mean, when's the last time you sat with your guys? And I am a therapist, but when's the last time you sat with your guys and said, "How you doing, fella?" "Well, I just feel sad. I can't really figure it out." I hope we get a chance to do that, but it's not necessarily reinforced. And I think that placing spaces like this allows us to have, more times when we can actually sit down and take that armor off and say, "Hey, I'm feeling kind of shitty today, and this is why, or this is how."
So, you brothers all bring up a real interesting dynamic, and I just want to, make sure I'm following it right. What we're saying is, for young Black boys, like Marcus, alluded to, brother Rogers, you also spoke about this, preparing you for the world that you have to live in. So I believe that what we're speaking of is the dynamic of there's two different Americas that we grow up in, as Black people, versus some of our other peers, right? Outside of our race. So that was a look at the brothers' first episode, which was crazy. You kind of looking back on it, man, like with that being the first one out the gate, man, I was nervous as hell. I didn't know who was gonna show up and whatnot. But we had a really good dialogue though, brothers. We had a really, really good dialogue, and I kind of like where we went with it because it's one of those things where we get that a lot from people in our communities that men do not show emotion. Like Brother Rogers pointed out, we in fact do show emotion. It's just not reinforced in how we're supposed to express them. So I'm super proud of us, man, for opening up that dialogue.
Yeah, I'm impressed. I have a question though.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
No, I just gotta know. With that being the first topic, if there were any sisters in the room, brothers, would you have still joined or no?
Yeah, I would.
I would have.
Are you asking all of the me? You asking me too?
Yes.
Well, y'all know the answer for me. I definitely wouldn't have joined because I didn't think we was ready to have them sit down. So I definitely would not have joined. Um, well, I guess if it was you, if it was just my wife in the room, I probably would have joined.
That's right. That's right.
It's not. I'm not trying to flirt or anything like that. It's just my wife. And I think this is the way that it should be. But my wife is truly my safe space. She's my safest space out of all spaces that I can kind of go towards. So I definitely I wouldn't have been as nervous about her being in the room. But like if Miss Devin or Nico would have been in the room, I definitely wouldn't join. I would have waited to the unpacking.
I got a
I,
question.
I got man. I was about to say the same thing, but go ahead.
It's all
I
love.
definitely
It's
got a
all
question.
love.
Yeah, go ahead.
And this is for the ladies. I just want to know y'all opinion. Do y'all truly feel that a woman can raise a man?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. He done went there with it. He done went there. He done just pulled it right on out.
I think we are put in positions where we have to, but we don't have all the skills and the tools needed to fully and successfully raise a man to be a man. We do the best with what we got, but I don't think it was God's intent nor his design. So we just do what we have to do when we have to do it.
So when he falls, do you poo poo him or do you tell him to get up and it's gonna be all right and be a man like our uncles and fathers would have done to us?
So the crazy thing is, I'm one of the all poo poo kind of mamas, but then I get reprimanded by men around me that I'm making him soft. So
Isn't
I
that
think that's
crazy?
why these conversations need to be had because I have two boys and a girl. I encourage my boys to tap into their emotions. If I do something to make them feel any away, use your words and tell me how you feel. Tell me what that feels like. What's going on in your body? Like I try to trigger and pinpoint those triggers. But necessarily that's just the type of mother that I am. But I don't think that it's a common thing, which I really hope that these conversations kind of ignite some of those things within our families, that it is okay to have our boys talk about their emotions and say that they're hurt. Like when my son cries, you have to tell me why you're crying. You can't just be crying. You're crying because your toys stopped working. That's not a reason to cry, but let's see how we can get it working. Find solutions. So I'm one of them mothers, but I'm also really big on mental health and emotions. So that's me.
Yeah, yeah. See, that's exactly why a woman can't raise men. That's exactly why.
Y'all better start sticking around then, poppies.
Hold on, man.
I
Hold
knew it.
on.
Yeah, I got the spoon. I got the wooden spoon out tonight.
I mean, wait, see, my thought process is what men tell our sons is like, look, I gave it to you, I bought it, I told you to take care of it. Now you done broke it, and now you crying.
Accidents happen.
We ain't about
Are
to
you
sit there and
perfect?
try to fix. Now, don't get it twisted. You know what I mean? But because this the thing though, that now we have to start getting our kids to understand what the difference is of priorities is. You know what I mean? That's a whole nother topic. But if my son or my child, you could call it tough love. I'm not sure. We may sit down and try to break and fix the broken pieces or whatever. But if he crying about it, Nah, bro. I'm gonna give you something to cry about. I'm gonna see 6 inches. You know what I
See,
mean?
that's the tough love that creates the culture in men.
Pause.
What
I heard
happened?
pause. I heard pause. I'm in the
Why you
got
giving them
pause.
6 inches, bro? What?
Me too.
Six,
See,
yeah.
the devil's
See,
advocate
see,
Here we
popped
go.
see,
in.
Here
see.
we
There
go.
you go, bro.
Here we
There you
go.
go, bro. There you go. Flutter kicks, JB, man. Flutter kicks, bro.
You know,
Dude.
if I could chime in just really, really quick here, man. You know, man and you know, the way that we do express emotions, I think it's a no-win situation regardless, man. Like I think that even if you have somebody that does kind of cater to that, they would be considered coddling you. If you have somebody that is insensitive to your emotions, then they're being just that. They're being insensitive, right? Ms. Devon, she talked about, you know, if you know her son was crying because the toy was broken, that's not a reason to cry. I'll tell you right now, if my favorite toy got broke tonight, I'm gonna be shedding tears. If my PlayStation 5 is not working when I get home, that's my toy. Okay. And if I start shedding tears, I don't want nobody to tell me that's not a reason to cry. As a man, whether I was a little boy or whatever, I don't want nobody to tell me what's a reason to cry.
I'm gonna be
You
mad,
bet
but I
not
ain't
be
gonna
crying. You
cry.
better
Wait a minute
man up.
though. Wait a
Cry if
minute
you
though,
want
G.
to. You bet not be crying.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm about to say, GT, because we also do that as men. Like I don't want anybody to tell me that something is not a reason to cry. But if I saw one of my little cousins or my nephews crying over what I thought was bullshit, I'm gonna tell them to man up. I think that's just that's part of the healing that we need to continue to go through.
So I got a question.
Okay.
Now,
Here we go.
Why we done walk through all this? Why is that the case though? Does this get back to the perception of strength? Like that, I need to know what
Absolutely.
complex dynamic with emotions. Make it make sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I just think, what if we really, if we were raised where emotions were glorified and thought to talk about, then no one would have this perception anyway. But because this has been our culture and our community, and it's our norm in our community, then it's shunned upon. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the man having emotions. I don't think it's anything wrong with my son crying, but he has to be able to explain why he's crying. And I think that is where the disconnect is when men have emotions versus women having emotions. They're not able to articulate what they feel, how they feel, why they feel.
Agreed.
Wait. Are you saying that men don't are not we don't articulate that, or a child?
Men don't, because they weren't taught as a child to do so. Now there's a handful of men that can and will, but let's talk about community wise. Most men are not about to talk about how they feel, why they feel that way, where the feeling came from. So then they shut down, they shut us out, and a lot of our relationships end because of that. A lot of childhood traumas, mother issues, all of that kind of plays a part in why our men don't feel safe enough to say that they feel a certain kind of way. So I think it all starts from childhood trauma.
Well, I kind of agree,
Miss
but
Devon,
kind of
that's
disagree.
Thank you.
I'm and y'all help me
me.
out with this point. When a man gives you his feelings, you know, sometimes y'all don't take it as a grain of salt. It's got to be more. You know what I mean? Like if you have a certain feeling about something that we are, deep and passionate about, and we articulate those feelings, we'll do it. We'll talk about it 3 different, 4 or 5 different ways of the same thing, because we want you to really understand how we truly feel. But sometimes feelings don't have to be deep all the time. So if you say, "Well, how do you feel?" I say, "Oh, well, I'm good." Well, what about then? And it's like, okay, well, I just told you that, and it's not really nothing more than that. It's just that. So, in a sense, we do talk about our feelings, but sometimes y'all kind of take it a little bit deeper, or y'all think it's more than what it is than what we're saying.
No way. I can't really disagree with that. I think we both do that though. I think both genders do that. I know there's times that I'll ask my wife, is something wrong? She tells me nothing's wrong, and I insist something got to be wrong. Her body language, so on and so forth. So I think it's sort of a human trait, if you ask me.
We got we got different communication styles, man. Like not speaking for women, just speaking on my life experience. If my girl asks me I'm good, to me it just means I'm good. What she wants is every bit of thing, every single thing that happened that day that led to it being good. It's still good, but she wants the details. And then it's vice versa. So we're like that with positive, and women are like that with negative. So when something's wrong with your girl, and you just know what's something wrong with your girl, she's like, it's all good or whatever. It ain't nothing. It's like, nah, it's something more than that. So I think we kind of got opposite ends of the coin on that, because as black men, we can be in a good mood, but it's hard for us to really sit in and enjoy joy. It's hard for us to really be in that place, especially, you know, we all hood niggas at some level. You know what I'm saying? So from growing up and having to be like, oh, we had a good time, so and so got shot. Oh, I'm having a good day at school, come home, parents is acting crazy. It's real hard for us to really sit and enjoy as black men, because on top of all that, which our black girls go through too, but on top of all that going on, now as black men, you have to turn around and, okay, you as a man need to be fixing, you need to be providing, you need to be doing all of this and not showing it that you're having a hard time. You can have a hard time. So when it comes to that stoicism that a lot of us tend to carry around, it's hard for us to really sit in the positive aspects of life and when it happened. And that's what a lot of times we miss out on. So I feel like I kind of went off a little bit off the topic, but that's just kind of where it took me.
No, I think you're right on. I think you're right on though. I think you're right on. When you talk about the idea of like being able to share and sit in joy and connection, I mean, I think that's the thing that emotions are there for, to be able to share with somebody what's going on with you on a day-to-day basis. And I think what, from a men's perspective, we end up like struggling with emotional vulnerability, the ability to share like, oh, because we hear emotion and think we hear and see this is a problem I need to solve. I have an emotion. I need to find a skill. I need to find something that stops this thing from going on. We see it as the smoke detector in our house. We got to figure this shit out. When in reality, it's just a way of communication. It's just a way of saying, yo, like you said, G-Don, like, bro, something happened in the hood today. I'm fucked up behind it. It doesn't mean I have to solve this particular situation. It means I need to be able to sit in it literally and say, like, hey, I want somebody to hold space. Because the thing about emotions, the bigger this bad boy gets, the less skill is going to actually work. We actually need co-regulation, meaning we need other people to show up with us to hold that emotion. But if we find ourselves saying, well, I got to solve this problem, and as a man, I got to solve it by myself, or if we communicate it that way, you're going to be a man, you got to go off and solve that feeling by yourself. The person we're communicating with maybe end up dealing with like a 10, 12, 20-year backlog, or you never dealing with any of these feelings of sadness, disappointment, frustration, rage, or anything like that. And all of a sudden you taking out shit on somebody else emotionally that ain't got shit to do with them. So part of this process is being able to slowly begin to approach one's own emotions, name them as such, and allow somebody to witness you in that space. But if we keep shaming our guys, we keep shaming each other and saying, oh, well, you can't show that. Oh, you soft, you show that. Or if we internalize that, and if our sisters end up shaming us for that, I guarantee you the problem keep bumping right headlong into each other over and over and over again.
I got a thought process question, but I 1,000% agree with you. When we, as like me as a married man, having that vulnerability with my wife, like that's totally different. But the way that we raise our sons and our boys is to deal with the world. Like we now, I grew up in a time where, my mama told me to shut up and that was it, but we're raising our kids to give them a voice, but at the same time, is that detrimental? I think it is, because now we didn't got them a voice so much, now they want to back talk. So it's like there's a difference in between, being able to have those type of emotions and being able to expand those emotions, but that's only should be, as far as vulnerability is concerned, is with your significant other, your wife or your husband.
I want to
But
challenge
the
that,
world,
brother.
There you go.
I want to.
Go ahead.
Now look, I hope everybody on her healing. But I wanted to present another perspective that may or may not help all of the points that we're about to bubble up. So in episode 2, we the sisters talked about the mental strength of a man and how that was challenged or at war during the slavery time. We all know about the Willie Lynch letter. Some of us do, some of us don't. But it's the psyche that's presented that was present during that time. That's the part of the letter that is really mind-blowing. And so we want to go ahead and play the clip from the sisters so that we can talk about this mental strength in men and how that might maybe sort of has something to do with the emotional expression or lack thereof.
Let me show you what I can do.
So I do want y'all, while we sold on the DNA thing, yes. I do want y'all to talk to us about if there's really a systemic thing that could have happened from way back when, right? So here's the reading of the Willie Lynch letter that Ms. Nico had mentioned earlier. By her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed, the ordeal caused her to move from her psychological dependent state to a frozen independent state. Her referring to the Black woman. In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reverse roles. For fear of the young man's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak, independent, but physically strong. Because she has psychologically become independent, she will train her female offspring to be psychologically independent. And then it asks, what have you got? If you continue on with the letter, it basically talks about a broken community. But do you all think that mentality having been forced into the woman way back when to learn to be independent, does that have anything to do with maybe our inability to even feel like it's okay to show emotion because now we have to play this I'm everything role?
They took our protector and made us feel like we had to be the decision makers. Like they molded that thought process into us. So it's no confusion while we sit around here thinking like we don't need a man for nothing. Like when you read that, like I got chills like that. It just makes everything make sense. Like you mother.
But it goes to what I think Adrian was saying earlier too. Like sometimes we just like take it too far, because when I hear that, it's most definitely right in line with all of the systematic things that have been done to us, over centuries. But it is in line with kind of taking it too far. So if you were in a situation and you had no choice, the protector was taken away, so you had to raise the children, and then you raised them in the way that letter, that what she just read highlighted. That's because you were in that scenario. We took it too far. We didn't have to be in that scenario. Like when slavery ended, we didn't have to be in that scenario. So there's just a gap where we fail to unlearn things.
So that goes back to mental health.
Absolutely.
You got a lot of hypersexual people at a young age because of mental health problems.
Okay, so we went there, y'all. And I heard us talking about the mental weakness of a man, that was the goal, that was the objective. And so connecting that back to tonight's discussion, in order to show and process emotions, that takes a certain amount of mental energy, a certain amount of mental strength versus, you know what, let me just go do this, go fix something, as Bert put it, because you're physically moving, you're physically seeing, right, the benefit of your work. It's physical versus when you make emotional and mental strides. How do you know that you're improving? What's your physical reward? So I would like to maybe throw that question out there: is, do we think that there are systemic issues that could have caused us to have this view on, especially Black men not wanting to show emotion? But then I also think, Mr. Donald, that you were a little bit challenged too in what you shared, because if our history of people, bad things happen to us whenever we try to express ourselves, right? Especially the men. What if the thought process of my children expressing themselves is continued iterations of that? So what if that is really generational curse and we just never learned how to be able to appreciate that because it was not a liberty afforded to us? So I don't know who wants to pick up and who gonna bite first, but that was two separate things. One was the emotional strength.
I would say, because part of the reason why I brought up that I wanted to challenge Brother Donald on that point, and of course, everything always with all due respect, it's because it's kind of the old verbiage. You say, question everything. So, because he and forgive me, I'm dealing with a little bit of brain fog here, but he said that, oh well, in my day, mama said shut up, you just shut up, and now the kids want to talk back. He was just pretty sure he was just giving that as an example. So my question would then be, okay, what's wrong with the child talking back? Is the child correct or not? Are you wrong or not? Did they say it in a respectful way? And not just stop at, oh, I couldn't talk back to my mama, so you can't talk back to me. You kind of have to question everything. There's an old, and Kurt probably knows what I'm talking about, but there's an old, I don't know if it was a real study or not, but it's an old story about if you got a bunch of monkeys sitting around, and if you teach the monkey, if you pull this lever, you'll get hit, but if you pull that lever, you'll get food. After a while, even if you turn the level that will hurt the monkey off, the old monkeys will teach the new monkey not to hit that lever because don't nobody want to get hurt no more. And so in a lot of ways, we tend to still carry on things that either shouldn't have been carried on in the first place, no longer doesn't apply on the same level, just because it's tradition. A lot of generational curses are tied to traditions. Children not being able to express themselves is one of those, because if a child can't trust you with the fact that they don't like this flavor popsicle, how can they trust you with the fact that I've been touched? If a child,
okay, G Don, you made a point. I'm sorry, I had to interrupt this because I want to
yes,
make
sir.
and clarify my words.
Yes, sir.
I did say that, when our parents, said shut up, they shut up. But I also said that we have now given our children a voice. And now because we have given them a voice, now they are talking back. So it's like now we gave them an inch and then they took a foot. So I just wanted to clarify what I said versus, what you're actually,
Yes, sir.
talking against.
And I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but my point is, what's wrong with them taking that foot? What is the issue with that? That's what I would like to know.
And I think I like how even in our clip that we just watched, how Nicole said we took it too far. Like I'm one of those kids where my parents raised me where I could express how I feel. And because I learned that, I teach that to my kids. So if I say something, I'm not perfect. And my kids will pull my tail. And because I create that environment, I also show them that when I make a mistake, I can apologize for it. So it creates an environment where like he said, where my children can trust me. There's so many things that I've expressed on this podcast, especially with my daughter being molested. I wouldn't have knew that if my daughter didn't trust me, if I didn't create that environment in our household where she knew that it was safe to come talk to me. If I always tell her to be quiet, or because I said so, or no, because I said no, then she's going to feel like she doesn't have a voice. And I think that is a thing that muzzles us. And another part of emotions and being okay with teaching our boys how to have emotions is, what does okay mean? Like when men say I'm okay, I'm cool, like that's not an emotion. And I'm just playing therapist, devil's advocate. Like an emotion is anger, rage, happy, sad. To say I'm okay, that's kind of like a cultural thing. And depending on your tone, it can be taken any way. So teaching our kids how to effectively use their emotions when they're explaining how they feel. Then when they become men and their wives ask them, well, babe, how was your day? Oh, it was cool. We don't know what that means, which is why we probe with more questions, because we're trying to get more clarity on what your real emotion is. So I think
man, I'm sorry, man. I'm hearing what y'all saying, but
you don't want to hear us, Donald.
That shit is bullshit. Like I'm trying. I mean, my blood is like churning.
Is that an emotion, Donald? Listen. No, listen. I'm hearing what y'all saying. I truly am. But the whole point of the matter is when it comes to the type of information that we're dealing with when we're dealing with our kids, I can understand, giving them type of choices when it comes to, what type of food you want to eat or what type of clothes you want to wear and things like that. But when we're talking about foundational things that we have to instill in our kids, ain't no goddamn choice. Because number one, who is going to be more better for my children and their actual emotional stability and whatever it takes? It is me. So yeah, we could say that, okay, well, based off because I've made mistakes, but I'm a grown man, so I have to deal with those mistakes. But hold up. But this is the thing though. Like when if we as parents are the ones that's dealing with our kids and we're doing it the best way that's for them, it is not for us. Every last one of us that have children, we do what we do for them, and it is for the best for them. So there is no, when I say stop, God damn it, I mean stop. Ain't no, oh, well, why should I stop? Like, what? But what's wrong with you explaining to them that they're going to be in harm's way so that they can understand? But either way, I'm going to talk on the foundational part because you said,
real quick. I'm going to answer that question real quick because at that moment, we need to do it right then and there. We could explain later.
But do you go back and explain as a parent? Most of the time you say, I said stop, and then you go on about your day. You don't go back and sit them down and say, well, this is why I told you to stop at this point, because this is the learning lesson that you feel like I'm the entitled parent, but you're not understanding that what you're instilling in your child is what was instilled in you, which is generational things, which could be the curses that we're not breaking.
So you mean to tell me that there's objective truths about raising our kids?
Have you read the Four Agreements? Have you read the Four Agreements? Because I'm going to speak on one thing. I'm a Christian. I love the Lord. I praise Jesus Christ daily. My oldest son came to me and told me he didn't understand what the religion was about. He don't know if Jesus Christ is real. I could have been that parent and said, you're going to believe it because I believe it. But I have to give my son space to understand what's best for him to understand. If I trust in Jesus Christ, he's going to bring my son that way. But I'm not going to force him to believe in a religion because I do. Because if you read in the Four Agreements, everything that we believe to this day is because our parents told us to believe it, because their parents told them to believe it, because somebody else told them to believe it. So we have to give some kind of reign for freedom of thought, freedom of speech, and everything else. We have to trust that what we're doing and what we're instilling in our kids, they're going to be the best that they can be because they come from us, not because you're going to beat it in them or make them stop because you say stop, because just because you're telling them that, they're not learning the lesson. So now they're going to go.
Nah, I ain't saying nothing about beating them up. No.
Let
me call a timeout. I think brother Rogers wants to chime in, and hopefully he can bring us back to earth from a clinician standpoint. While these black folks on camera acting the damn fool.
Look, where's his prop? Bring your prop back with you too.
I got that.
I was about to come in and yell, I hope you heal.
I think, speaking as a parent, speaking as a father of two very fiery, very opinionated daughters, I raised them. Me and their mother raised them specifically to push back against us. I want you to ask questions. I want you to say, well, my oldest would check me quickly. Daddy, hold on. You always told me there's a reason why you tell me to do something. So why? The reason specifically why I wanted them to have that is not only for them as women, as they grow from girls to women, that they learn that like your voice is not only valuable, but you can push back against a guy and have a reasonable discussion. I want that to be that soft, safe place you can land in to reason through things. So you have that modeled already. I don't want their first interaction with a man is the man shutting them down. In the same way, from a parental perspective, it behooves us to explain things to our kids because they get the lessons that way. They learn specifically, oh, I can't run outside with no shoes on because there might be glass out there. I don't run outside with no shoes on because I might cut my foot. I don't want a scenario where my authority is the only thing that stops them, because what happens when I step away? What happens when I'm out of town? What happens when I'm at training? What happens when I am not able to instill that fear that says my daddy is going to be mad at me if I do this? What if they can internalize and say, well, the reason why I don't do this is because of this outside circumstance, not because my father's going to be angry at me. I want them to understand that because I am teaching them, and their mother is also teaching them how to be in relationship with other people. It's not about like whether they put their dish back in the sink. It's not about them being too loud in the space. My 5-year-old, when she's in a small space now, I'll say, hey, there's other people out there. Let's lower your voice. Now I could teach her like it was taught to me. Hey, shut the hell up. Stop yelling. And same behavior would show up, but I think if we focus solely just on the behavior and not on the relationship, we are missing the point. And I think what happens a lot of times in that space is we get pissed off because when someone says, hey, there's an expansion here that you can expand into a space that we ourselves were not raised into. We were not raised into a space where we could expand into our own emotions, our own feelings, and we weren't given a reason. For some of us, we weren't given a reason at all. For some of us, we were given a belt or a smack to the face. So when it comes down to like expanding to that space, oh, it bumps into our shit. And that is scary as hell. Because now you're like, I gotta actually feel this. I gotta actually feel this stuff to actually communicate it. And when it comes down to like the why, and this is where I'll leave it in this situation, we are raising our kids we're not raising them to have a safe space and a soft space because that's the reasoning is because when they go out there, they gotta face white supremacy. They gotta face patriarchy. They gotta face homophobia. They gotta face all these particular things all at the same time. A world is not gonna be kind to them whatsoever. So why would I replicate that environment out there in my household? The environment that's out there in your household, I can guarantee you they will not be able to tell the difference between mistreatment inside versus outside their household. They won't be able to tell the difference. How you gonna tell the difference between one and the other if you're not modeling softness in that space? I'm not saying now trust me, don't get me wrong. I hold myself and my kiddos to a high standard. I make sure that they understand that, like, hey, there are expectations for your behavior. When you put away your clothes, make sure they go in the dirty clothes hamper. Fold your stuff away. Talk to me with respect the same way I do. I don't yell at them. You don't yell at me. At the same time, though, I do that because I built a relationship with them. So when both of my kiddos say, hey, Dad, I need to talk to you about something, Well, let's go out to the trampoline and jump around while we talk about this. Hey, that goes for my 5-year-old and my 10-year-old. Daddy, I'm having big feelings. Can I talk to you about this? That's my 5-year-old talking. And that's not me being a therapist. I don't bring my therapist hat home. As a matter of fact, I leave that shit at my door as soon as I get off, as soon as I log off. It's done. I'm dad. So it's important to be able to have that space, because I know for me, with my parents, I grew up, if you watch some of the episodes, I tell you with a straight face, I grew up in a hood-ass household, in a hood-ass environment with 2 hood-ass parents, and I love them to death. But some of the shit they weren't healed from impacted me as an adult, and still impacts me as an adult. And my job as a man is to dive in there, deal with the shit that I wasn't given, so I can show something different to my daughters.
Right on.
That's
right
why.
on.
That's
the realest shit. I think that's the realest shit that's been said tonight. And I'm saying that while agreeing with Mr. Wig. I don't have kids, but I'm gonna tell y'all right now, I'm gonna treat my kids the way I was treated when I was pledging. Okay, do the shit that I said do. Okay, and later on when it's late at night and there ain't nobody around, I will tell you why I told you that. So shout out to Miss Devin, because that's the way that I was treated pledging. We had a lot of things happen to us, but our Dean of Pledges explained some of those things to us every single night. They would explain why these things happen. So I'm saying, Bert, you said some real shit, but I do agree with Mr. Wig, and I do think that I probably will have some of those qualities. But I think with Mr. Wig's point, and I know we got to go to break. I think Mr. Wig's point was certain foundational things. Motherfucker, you ain't got a voice on this. I said turn my motherfucking light off because you running my damn light bill up.
That is not foundation.
Like that. I'm saying on certain foundational things, certain things is not up for discussion. And guess what?
Princess, blink if you need help.
Hold on. Guess what? I'm glad you said that, because guess what? That don't only apply to children. As a man,
hey, turn my lights out, bro.
I'm speaking to another man, and I said,
are we about to get into submission?
This shit ain't up for compromise. So look, we're gonna go ahead. Let's take commercial break, because we getting real heated on the stage, and we still got a great show lined up for y'all. So let's do a commercial break, and we'll be back.
At Lifted KC, we aim to reduce the stigma associated with mental health by promoting awareness of mental illness, its symptoms, and providing resources for those in need. We believe that through trust, relationships, understanding, service, and teamwork, transformation is possible. Support the Men Heal movement by donating to the Cash App handle LiftedKC.org. For more information about our organization, visit www.liftedkc.org. Lifted KC, transforming lives through hope and healing.
What's good? This is Jazz from 64111 Studio. Make sure you holler at me for all your mixing, mastering, and recording needs. For booking, please visit www.64111studio.com.
Yes.
We back already?
We back.
No,
We got some more sponsors to shout out.
What up, podcast world? This your dude, Walt Lee Dundilla, the Popper, Mr. Activelli. Pull up on me, 1809 Vine, 8600 Ward Parkway, or yes, I'm KC.com.
KC is my home. Most scratched in the rest, where your bag at? Posted in the store, moving t-shirts and dad hats. Buy 3, get 1 free, you can have that. Niggas get planted, quintiles being lab rats.
As a community, we look at the word trauma as one of those hush-hush words.
Fall 2023.
It's a stigma around that word. Like nobody wants to be labeled or be classified under that.
Angela Marie Publishing proudly presents.
If you look at it, trauma is merely just being exposed or voluntarily or involuntarily to a situation that changes your outlook.
Sit in Your Shit, a 30-day guided journal for processing a crisis.
You have become accustomed and immune to your own shit.
Written by Miss Devin Elise, certified life coach and founder of Lifted KC.
Because mental health doesn't care where you are, what you're doing, who you are. It's gonna kick in when it wanna kick in.
Fall 2023, Sit in Your Shit.
When it finds its place to trigger you, boom, you're triggered. If you don't deal with the trauma, you're gonna constantly be triggered.
The highly anticipated guided journal from Kansas City's own Devin Elise.
And one of the things that I'm learning in my associates with this healing is to be aware and to sit in my shit.
For more information, visit AngelaMariePublishing.com.
When I feel something, I sit there and figure it out. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling? Because when I can identify it, the next go round, I can prevent it before it comes.
Sit in Your Shit. Available now.
All right, we back. Can y'all hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yep.
Can y'all still hear us?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Oh, there we go. All right, we back. So, man, it was getting kind of heated before that commercial break. I was just checking the comments. Somebody, I think that's LaShonda in the comments. She's on her government name, and I think that she called me. She said that was child abuse, what I said earlier. I was only half serious. I don't think that I'm going to yell and curse at my children, but I will be very stern. So that brings me, I think we should just jump right into the next couch moment. Y'all ready for another moment?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's jump into the second moment, if you don't mind, producer, and let's see where this takes us.
Let me show you what I can do.
That's just my opinion. I think that protection and security is a man's thing.
The back end question I have is like, does that person feel safe under your wing?
Let me flip it, because that word protected, protection, all of it is like my earth.
I know for me personally that's been my story, is that I learned early on not to trust men because it wasn't safe to trust them.
Are you responsible for them feeling safe? If you provide all of that stuff, if you provide the security, financial, all that stuff, are you responsible for them feeling safe?
So I want to say childhood trauma is real. And I have learned through my journey of therapy, healing, that a lot of what I'm experiencing now, a lot of my reluctancy to submit is based on not being protected as a child.
I was raised like that. And so when I had to do it, I'm like, oh, this is not a familiar place for me. But God created me strong enough to do it. So I like that. And I think the reason why was because I was always protected by my brothers. I was always protected. So I think I connect the submissiveness, being surrounded by the boys and my uncles, because it was a lot of them, only 2 girls there. I always felt protected. And as an adult, doing all those things that I've done for my kids, I've done it, but honestly, I don't know the last time I felt protected.
Are you responsible for the fact that they don't feel secure under your protection? That's a great question.
Right.
Because I do think that dynamic exists. I mean, let's be honest, man. Look to your left and right. Black women say it all the time. They don't feel protected by us, just in general. Black women
Right.
say that they don't feel protected by us. So whose responsibility is that to make them feel protected, or whose responsibility is it that they don't feel protected? I think that's what Scott is asking. Am I right?
Okay.
Right.
It took a lot of work for me to be able to be in a position where I felt comfortable and felt safe, to be able to trust my husband and to be able to be vulnerable. And because to me, that was another part of being submissive, was being vulnerable. And nobody likes to necessarily feel vulnerable, because to Janine's point, that and Devin's point, that feeling vulnerable takes away that level of protection that you have. And so if that's the frame of reference that you come from, then submission, that's a cuss word. That's a fighting word. Please submit.
Come on now.
Yes, it will take some adjusting to, trust someone else, to do those things.
I'm sorry. The end of that video just kind of threw me off. Submission is a cuss word, ladies?
Yes.
I don't understand. Can somebody explain this to me? Because I was trying to whisper in my wife's ear. I was flirting with her at first while we was on commercial, and then I heard that, and we almost got into a heated. So submission is a cuss word?
That was the perspective of someone who basically kind of had some experiences that really didn't line up with, being submissive. I know one thing that I mentioned in that particular episode was that sometimes we kind of tag our own definitions to things, and then we kind of turn them into stigmas kind of ourselves. But the actual definition, of submission, should not be a cuss word or make you want to run and scream. It's just being in line with each other, just kind of conforming to the plan, and being the helpmate, all of that good stuff. But no, that was just in context of that's how some women feel about it after they've either submitted to the wrong person or they've misunderstood the meaning of submission. And then when somebody comes to them like submit, they're like, hell no, but that's kind of what that context was.
Okay. Now, I've been very open and transparent about how I'm still learning to embrace submissiveness. My girl Shonda, we tried to have her on, but the universe had other plans. God had other plans. And I'm just telling y'all, she up in the comments, and I appreciate her because I know she got
a cuss word for her, right?
Shonda, yes. Yes.
I remember that. It was a straight up cuss word for her.
And I wasn't too far behind her. I got some to do. But I do want to pose this question to y'all, since we got the men and the women, sisters, brothers here. Is submissiveness necessary for protection?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm gonna just go ahead and throw the answer out there. Absolutely. Submission.
Absolutely.
And I like the way that the ladies, the sisters, shout out to the sisters, Black Girl Magic, shout out to the sisters. I love the way that the sisters explain things in their episode on submission, because believe it or not, I learned some things. I learned a lot of things. There were some biblical references, and we can get into that if we need to. But one of the things that the sister said about submission, they look at submission as cooperation, right? So me and my wife, we consider ourselves to be partners, not only business partners, but we are life partners, right? And in partnership, depending on at any given moment, everybody has a role to play. Okay. I said this, and I might have said it in the clip, but my opinion is that protection and security is a man's job. I don't care what race you are. I don't care how old you are. Once you're legal age, you are a man. Okay. At 18 years old, Motherfucker, you better make sure don't nothing happen to your mama, to your grandma. You teach those things even to young men, because protection and security, in my opinion, that is a man's area. So to answer the question, yes, you do need to have submission in order to protect somebody effectively, because submission is cooperation.
Look at Princess over there looking hot.
Because
Hey, you over there cursing, Rodney? You over there cursing?
No, that was a good look. That was a good look. Like, that's my man talking.
Oh, okay.
I'm
I
with you,
don't
sister.
think that question had gender roles associated to it. So I was just confused as to where that came out in your response.
No, you're not confused, because you know how I feel about protection and security. And that's one of those things. Perfect example, right? There is no discussion. I don't have to tell you why I said do this, go in the house right now, do this. I don't have to explain that to you in that moment. I might not ever explain it to you. I might just remind you, hey, security and protection is my area, right? So I'm running point on this. You follow my lead, you cooperate, and there are areas where I'm going to submit to her. One of the things that I think that I learned in y'all's episode that I never had thought about, or even just kind of processed the thought, was the fact that we all, as humans, as adults, we submit in our day-to-day routines to a number of different individuals, a number of different entities, a number of different ideas. And I really do thank the sisters for kind of pointing that out, because that's a good point to be made when we're talking about submission. Submission itself is not gender-based. Men submit, women submit. However, wifey, the question you asked was about protection. Okay, and protection to me is a man's area. If anybody else wants to chime in,
y'all seen that story, right? Where in New York, where the young lady and the young man, I guess they had a beef with their neighbor, and he came out with the scissors, and him and his son got killed. There was a lot of chatter, in the comments, and me and my wife was, speaking about that. Like, whenever there's two men, because that's one of the things that is very, very important when it comes to our women and understanding what protection is. Especially when it's protection of your life, because us men, we will give our life for our wives. No second chances. It doesn't matter. So when it comes to protection, I like that man. His attention was off of that man and on his wife, because she's pulling on him and trying to get in between two men in a dangerous situation. Unfortunately, that lady husband and her son got killed. Now, is it because she pulled him away from him? Not necessarily. But to me, when I look at that video, it was a lot of, has a lot to do with it, because men should not, when we're in protective mode, we should not be interrupted. And sometimes that can be a line that can be, kind of scrambled. And we want to try to straighten that out and let you guys know that when we say protect, we mean do as we say, not what you want to do. And it's very, very important that is done, and it is to be done immediately.
I'm going to actually agree with Donald for once in a lifetime. No, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I watched that, and I wholeheartedly agree. There are a few questions that I had, like, why was she even out there in the first place addressing the situation when there were two men, clearly her older 24-something-year-old son and her husband was in the house as well. They should have already taken the lead on that conversation. I don't think she should have never addressed it. But I will say that I'm one of those alpha women. So in dating, in conversations, I ask those questions up front. Like, here's a scenario. If we're doing this and this happens, what would you want to see me do? Because do you want me to run to the car and sit in the car? Do you want me to just move back? Me personally, as a woman, I'm not going to let you engage in anything that's going to cost you your life. So saying that, those are conversations that I have up front, because I think men automatically think protecting means rough, tough strength. No, sometimes it means grabbing my hand and we both walking away so that we can make sure we make it back to our kids. I don't need you to be the strong man that's about to hoorah in front of another man's face, because in that situation, you never know what a person has. There was another thing on Facebook where it was like, a woman said if a group of guys grabbed her butt while she was with her man, what should her man do? Keep walking, because clearly protecting me is making sure you get me back to wherever we came from safe. I don't need you addressing a group of men or even a hostile man just to prove to me that you can protect me. Sometimes protecting is keeping me in safety and getting me to safety, not making me go by myself, because then we're sitting in a car worried about you, and God forbid anything happens. Now we're in the car not knowing what happened, and when we come back, all we see is all the what ifs of how we could have pulled you back to the car. So I think that's one of those things about men being mindful that protection isn't always about strength for us.
I agree. So you're saying like fit, like not? It sounds like when you mention strength, are you just talking about like just brute strength, like because he can fight? You know what I mean? And
I'm
I've seen
saying
that.
everything doesn't need to be a confrontation, because again, you may be, as my husband, going to have a conversation with a man, but just referencing the New York situation. He's coming out to talk to the man, and this man pulls a gun and kills him and his son. So you never know what's going on in another man's head. So approaching him is not always the safe thing to do, and it's not protecting me, because just like the Willie Lynch nutter, now this wife is left unprotected because both her husband and her son are deceased. So who's there to protect her going forward if anything else was to arise or anything? So sometimes protection is grabbing me by the hand like she was trying to yank him, which I don't agree. She should have did that. But in the moment, he should have just yelled out the door, get back in the house, if that's the case. Not you come out and engage in a hostile environment that caused you to lose your life.
I'm following what you're saying, but I gotta be totally honest with you. I don't think that should be your decision on what is protection and what is not. And why do I say that? I mean, number one, the guy came out and I'm just using this scenario, to kind of deal with this protection type of subject we're dealing with. The man came out with scissors. See, from the beginning, it's always been protect the woman and the child. When the Titanic fell, they had when they sank, they had men, women, and children first. When the mob, when there's a beef between the mob, no children, no women. So women don't know what danger is or what the level of danger is, because it's always a protection thing against the woman. So you don't have that actual say so to say when should we leave, or when should we run, or when should we fight, or when should we flight. Now I'm following what you're saying. I'm understanding the nature of wanting to keep a level head and knowing that okay, is this actually a situation that we can avoid? Yes, we want to just walk away from that. But in that type of situation, when a man and a woman is walking down the street and a group of men grab her ass, number one, women are emotional. So the first thing she's going to be disrespected. What is she going to do? She's going to start talking shit. And then after that, now we got a snowball effect. You see what I'm saying? But
again, you have to ask the woman, what does protection look like from her? For her.
There you go.
That's gonna look different to every woman. Now you get I can't remember what Princess called him, a hoorah hood girl, whatever she referenced the young
king of the hood. She said the king of the hood.
Then she's gonna want to get rah-rah because she doesn't understand what protection looks like. She doesn't respect you as a man, because if I love and respect you, I'm not about to put you in a situation that could possibly take you away from me. So yeah, you disrespected me and grabbed my ass, but we're gonna keep walking because one, we're outnumbered.
That's
Two,
combat thought
just
processes,
looking at that
though.
situation from the New York thing. If you're in your house, you're coming out of your house to chaos. First off, there's a saying, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. You didn't know what that man had, so you brought scissors outside and you weren't even in a position to really protect, because again, as a man, that's where that Rodney theory comes in. Get your ass in his house. You come out,
He tripped. I'm gonna chime in real quickly because I want to get to another moment. We want to be respectful of time. But in that situation, in that New York scenario, that man tripped. I hate that he lost his life. I hate what his wife is going through, but he tripped in a number of different ways. I'm not ever going outside to any sort of chaos with no damn scissors or a knife. What man is gonna do that? I'm not doing that. I might as well went out there barehanded. And I've done that, but I'm not going out there with no scissors and a knife because you don't know what that man has. So if I go out there barehanded and he do got a weapon on him, man to man, sometimes it's like, bro, I ain't got no weapon. You know what I'm saying? Don't go there. But if I pull out some scissors or a knife or anything like that, man, you can't ever be upset at how somebody else reacts to feeling some sort of harm or danger. I think that he tripped. I don't think that he did a good job of protecting his family in that sense. Like what Ms. Devin said, I think that the point that she was going to make was, I'm not going outside the chaos. You outside my house with some more bullshit, I'll leave you out there knocking. You can do whatever you're going to do. You have to shoot the house down because I'm in my safe space already. So I think that guy tripped. Just my opinion. If anybody else feels differently, I think that man, he did a horrible job protecting his family in that situation.
So sad. Our condolences go out to his family, of course. Loss is hard, but we have to learn from the actions of others. We're human, right? That's how we continue to grow and to be stronger, build stronger communities.
Yeah, and I think one of the other themes that we talked about in our episode was the fact that there's a great number of Black women that don't generally feel protected by Black men. So I do think that is something that we should highlight and mention here. I think some of the points that the brothers made, especially Mr. Rogers, he said that a person has to feel safe to feel protected. So if you're not providing that sort of a safe space, Brother JB also brought up the fact that you have to listen to those that you are protecting. So me and my wife, we have been in a scenario where she jumped in front of me and another man, and I snapped out on her and that guy. She made it worse for him, but I snapped out. And we had a very long conversation the rest of the trip about that. But here's the other thing, though. In the event that the person that you are protecting or in a position to protect, if they tell you they feel uncomfortable, even though it's like, hey, don't question me right now, I'm the protector and this and that. But if she just taps me and pulls me to the side and say, babe, let's go. Mm-hmm. What JB said is you still have to listen to those that you protected, even if you don't necessarily agree with it, because that's, I think, what promotes and continues to create and foster sort of that safe space. Because like to Ms. Devin's point, his wife, she shouldn't have been in the middle trying to pull that man back into the apartment, but he should have took that as a cue. In my mind, I think even though protection is my job as a man, I still respect my wife and my partner and the people that I'm trying to protect, and I got to make sure that they good, even if I don't necessarily agree with the way we need to move next.
If I could put a pin on it, brother, I would say the highest form of protection is when you got to protect somebody from their damn self. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Sometimes you got to protect somebody from their damn self, from their own idiosyncrasies, from their own triggers, from their own bad habits, from their own poor decision making. But in order for you to do that, you can't do that without trust. So what have you given? Have you given them? Because forgive me, I'm fighting through a brain fog. I got a relationship. I got a relationship with God, so I feel like God gives me certain things. One of the things that God gave me when I wasn't all the way listening to Him was sometimes you have to. If you can't trust me, trust my pattern. And that's how I grew in my relationship with God. Because that's what God told me. Trust my pattern. Haven't always shown up for you. And then I try to extend that out to my significant other. It's like, okay, you feeling this, you feeling that, you feeling a lot of emotions right now. Look back on our relationship and what I've always done. Why would I do anything different? Same thing
I
applies
will
when it
say
comes
this
to
though.
protection.
I will say this though. If based off of what happened with the Willie Lynch syndrome, it did make women a lot more stronger. That like now our women will fight, the enemy, back to back. I got your back, you got mine. And a lot of times, when it comes to the dangerous type of situations, your woman does have that type of intuition. They do have that feeling.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So when that happens, as a man, you do have to when she say, "Hey, baby, I don't feel good. This ain't." Even if you like you say the rah rah rah, the king of the hood. Baby said, "Go because
go.
yeah,
You gotta get out of here.
You gotta
You
go.
gotta get
When that
out of here.
bullet goes,
And you know what? It ain't no just 100% L, because I'm gonna tell that nigga, hey bro, you lucky my woman said we need to get out of here, because otherwise I'd have handled that. Like, so I'ma still feel good on that note. Nigga, you lucky. So I'm just letting you know.
I wanted to make one statement behind that, because that's true. That woman, the way we think compared to the man, sometimes a man, which makes sense, is reacting in defense based from his ego. You said what to my woman? It's on. Where a woman is gonna maybe can have a better sense of discernment, because our ego is not flared up. We're thinking about the protection of him. So we may say, hey, babe, we need to move. But a man, when he's ready to defend, and especially when it feels like a disrespect to him because you said it to my woman, it's out of the ego, which is normal. And so sometimes that's where that helpmate, that woman, that submissiveness, that connection, because submissiveness is that connection and compromise. A woman is able to say, I don't feel good about this, baby. It's okay. Let's go.
I like that. That makes sense. Cause I'm flared up, chest out. You hear me?
Yeah. And I'm gonna make sure I let them know you lucky.
Ready to go. Y'all ready to go at all times.
One of my friends
you should have said it to me. You might as well touch my ass if you touch my woman.
That's me.
That's him. Now, did he touch you? Yes. What did he touch me? Right? Out of his mouth. We're one. But one of my friends actually asked this, a long-term friend of mine, Kiara. She made a post on Facebook and she said, okay, so my husband protects me. Who protects him? Like, just physically, like, who is his covering? Like, yeah, I know y'all gonna come out here and say God, and I know I believe that, but in the heat of the moment, who's protecting him? So what
she is.
She is. Absolutely, she is.
She is. She
because we're nurturers, so we're going to protect our husbands in a way that they don't even see it. Like our prayers protect them, our discernment protects them, our intuition protects them. So our we have to be in partnership with our spouse. It won't work without it, because it's not one is greater than the other. We are equivalent to protecting each other, because we're going to do it from different perspectives that are supposed to keep us both safe.
Absolutely. So
I ain't gonna get punched in the face because you fighting them. I'm just saying.
No.
Hey, but to answer y'all question, yes, God
I'm
is
taking
protecting
the
the
L.
man.
Like, you better not jump in that. You got to let me take that L.
Look, ladies, sometimes your man might have to take an L.
I'm calling the fellas.
That's it,
Oh,
right?
you guys, man. That's all you got in that situation.
So, man, great commentary, brothers and sisters. I do want to get to one last moment, a moment on the couch that I think should be pretty interesting. So, producer, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and play this last couch moment before we wrap up tonight. It's a double standard, right? We can kind of get into that, right? Is there a double standard in the way that society looks at sex as it pertains to men versus women? Do we follow that double standard? Are we ready to admit that?
Here's my pushback. my pushback is gonna be, this is kind of stigma-ish, but like, I don't feel like I ever see men making posts about a woman having fruits. I be seeing posts about what we should wear, how we shouldn't have lashes on, why we got this wig on, why our toenails not done.
Why y'all always twerking on camera?
But if you pay attention, all the things that they shame are the things that build their trophy wife.
Come on.
I'ma just sit
Come
back.
on. Come on.
I'll be honest. I think I do have a double standard that won't go away, right? And let me give you an example. Okay, I have a very promiscuous history. I done fucked a lot of women. All right. When I got to the point where I said I'm looking for my life partner and my wife, she couldn't have had that on her fucking resume or record. She couldn't have had the same type of history. Okay.
I'm trying to tell you.
Now here's why I say the double standard exists, because I feel like I'm just as deserving of love, partnership, companionship as a woman who doesn't have all of that history, right? But I wouldn't feel like that if she did. So do y'all have that same belief and standard? Let's talk about it.
Men will look at women with BBLs. They'll follow all kind of strippers, but then they despise that for their own woman.
I'm gonna have to agree, yes, from me. But I do agree that a woman that has that type of history does deserve the love and attention of a man for the rest of her life. If she, you know,
right. I think he's called a cuckold. Ain't that the term?
You say you got cuckold?
Leave it up to this nigga JB, man.
Like, how do you expect her to have confidence if you're walking over what she's not?
Yeah. I will agree with D, because yes, absolutely, that woman is deserving of honor, love, and respect for somebody to love her the rest of her life. But I'm not that nigga.
I had a question in here about Instagram or OnlyFans models. Is that something that in this over-sexualized society?
Hell no.
That would be a deal breaker. You wouldn't allow.
No.
Well, because I don't want other men. You don't want her to possess the things that you lust over, because then you'll be intimidated by the men that are also lusting over the thing that you have. So you want to lust over somebody else's trophy wife, and then you want to try to have this virtuous wife that you're not making feel virtuous because she doesn't have the body of the trophy wife that the other man got. Like, y'all gotta quit flipping and flopping and not knowing where you want to land. Like, I don't understand it. Like, you gotta stand for something or fall for everything.
Girl, if you don't come on.
I'm just saying.
You're saying neither one, whether it was Instagram or the more explicit OnlyFans, you wouldn't be with that.
I don't respect either one of them. So, and I can tell you, I follow some IG baddies. I don't even know what they sound like because I don't care. Like, you know, they be trying to have those inspirational quotes and shit. I don't care. And then and let them show they got a kid. I'm deleting her. Like you serve your purpose, boy.
Like, bro, it would definitely be a deal breaker for me. But like what JB said, the double standard goes even further, because at the same time, you might follow some of these misguided young ladies, and you might enjoy some of their content, but you don't want that for your woman at home. Where do we get that line of thinking from, is my question.
Oh boy.
Wow, cuz.
Oh boy.
Now I'm mad I wasn't there to the whole container for them last 2 episodes.
I told you, Bert, like we needed you, baby.
I feel like you ever be a teacher that comes back to classroom, your teacher sit on a desk like this? Like, yo, what the fuck?
We had a time. We had a time, man. We had a substitute teacher that day, and we had a time.
Oh my God, fellas.
But you know what, man? We was very upfront. And very honest. One of the points that I did make that was not in the clip, because I openly admitted the double standard that I have, and I represent a lot of men in having that same double standard. But one of the things that I did speak on was the fact that I think for me the double standard is too late. I don't need the double standard to change. I have my queen, right? I don't have to get back out there and search and have these sort of standards that I hold myself to. For me, I think that the way that I combat the double standard, because I can openly admit it's a double standard, is to not teach the next generation of boys the same way that we were taught. We talked about how, part of the double standard between men and women is that, man or boys are almost encouraged to be promiscuous. And you get a lot of toxic guidance from people that are older than you. And those are things that I would never treat a young man the way that I was treated as a young man. So I think that that's the way that I answer the double standard. But yes, Mr. Rogers, you're absolutely right. We had a time and we clowned like we had a substitute teacher on that episode.
I was surprised to hear how young a lot of the brothers on the panel that night were when they first got exposed to promiscuous type content.
And I think that was what we wanted to point out. We wanted to be honest and open because I don't think that society gives us the space to even get into that side of the conversation. A lot of our exposure to these concepts, they do happen at a very young age, far before we are ready.
Yeah, I actually piggyback off that. That's very, very true. I mean, the concerning aspect is not necessarily that sex is being exposed. It's the mythology around healthy sex, unhealthy sex and sexuality that gets thrown out there on a regular basis that leads to some of these double standards. That says, oh, a woman, if she is, because sex work is still work. Like if you have an OnlyFans or you on IG, showing pictures, whatever that makes you know, look, you sell, I sell. Actually, hypersexuality, yes, can come from child abuse for men and women. Absolutely. Yeah, that is an outgrowth. That can be an outgrowth of that. Now, defining what hypersexuality is, a whole different ball game, and what that actually looks like, I would argue from a clinician's perspective, it looks like the idea of putting yourself in dangerous situations or unhealthy situations in order to get that. It's the trade-off. It's always a bad trade. It's like, I will stay in this shitty-ass relationship because the sex is good. I will stay in a dangerous situation. I put myself in a dangerous situation to get sex or whatever else. And I would argue that a lot of the things that we teach guys starts out from an unhealthy space. We don't teach guys about safe sex. We don't teach guys about what consent is. We don't teach guys about all this other kind of shit. So when we have a situation where you're like, oh well, yeah, this is what it's supposed to be like. And we end up, I tell guys all the time, we end up making that trade very early between this is where you connect the emotional unavailability with how we trade off with sex. Is like, oh, well, yeah, I can sleep with somebody, but I don't necessarily need to be emotionally connected with somebody in that situation. And we have a lot of guys who are starving for emotional connection, and they just go out by going out to heal that. They're like, oh, well, if I go out and sleep with somebody, I'll feel better. Not recognizing what it actually feels like to be connected with somebody else. And they end up trade that shit out on a regular basis over and over and over again, which is why a lot of guys actually are walking around with unhealthy relationships with porn and things along those lines because they have not learned how to actually deal with those other emotions underneath there. So oh, well, yeah, I can comment all this ridiculous shit under somebody's OnlyFans account or demean somebody who has an OnlyFans account, but then at the same time say, well, not my partner. That can't be that situation for me. Well, you still like her. You still like looking at her, but she doesn't matter as soon as she opens her mouth that she has a kid or whatever else. She's a whole ass human. She's a whole ass human. I'm not saying that's got to be for your partner.
You can stop right there. You're right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think another misconception is more common than not. Men have experienced sexual abuse as children as well. Absolutely. But because our men don't talk about things, it's not talked about. So we don't.
We also talk that it's okay too, though. So it ain't. Sometimes it's not even that it's not talked about. I didn't mean to cut you off, but what should be truly considered sexual abuse when it happens to us as young boys, we don't look at it like that. So we don't even recognize that it's abuse.
Mm-hmm.
But I think some men do, but you're shunned upon it because it's almost that be stronger. This is supposed to happen to you. So you're taught. Again, you're taught not to have emotions. You're taught not to express your emotions. You're taught that what happened to you wasn't wrong because you're a boy versus the same thing happening to a little girl being wrong. So that's also a double standard, but it doesn't make it right. I think that's where these conversations have to happen. I just watched the Jeezy interview he did, and I was so pleased not to hear that he had the trauma, but to see his vulnerability in putting that on a platform such as the one that he has, because men don't talk about that, and that definitely has an effect on how you are and how you look at sex and the relationships that you have going forward after those interactions.
Absolutely. Because if you say that, like, I wouldn't say every guy I've ever worked with, but if the number officially for women, I believe, is 1 in 4 have experienced some kind of sexual trauma, sexual assault. And the number for guys is officially reported as 1 in 6, but it's actually a whole lot higher than that, in my opinion, because there's a lot of guys who come forward with stories that say, oh, well, yeah, I was 12, 13, and I hit with the babysitter, and the babysitter's 19. Bro, that's molestation. You didn't hit. That's molestation, my guy. You experienced something that you should not have experienced. Or X, Y, and Z. Or I think about like something that Lil Wayne was talking about when he was like young man in the Hot Boys back in like, 99, 98, 99, when they were just coming to rise. And he was talking about how grown women were chasing his tour bus to sleep with him. Mind you, Wayne was what, 12, 13?
He's
14?
like 13.
Yeah, like that's you, ma'am, you're a predator.
Yeah.
Like being able to talk about this kind of stuff and not name it. I'm a firm believer in calling shit what it is. Like that's predatory behavior.
Yeah.
When we talk about like how this affects how we see sex and sexuality, a lot of times we try to reclaim a space. When we experience trauma, we try to reclaim a space vis-a-vis power, control, trust, safety, intimacy, that kind of thing. And a lot of times people try to reclaim their power and their control by saying, well, oh, I can just consume sex and that's just it. I don't have to renegotiate my actual like relationship with healthy sexuality anymore. And a lot of times we as men find ourselves in that particular position and if I had a nickel for every man I've sat with in a therapy session and had inklings that there was some kind of sexual assault that took place, but they never brought it up, I'd be very, very rich, because there are situations where that stuff kind of plays in the background in terms of like their reactions to being harmed. And then they never unpack it. They never want to go there because it's too vulnerable.
That makes sense.
It's interesting because like in our episode, we talked about, or I openly admitted the double standard in terms of partner choosing, right? But Bert, what you just brought up was also was another double standard, man. That's more societal in terms of, certain behavior being acceptable. Grown women chasing after a teenage boy because he's a rapper and he got on chains. But then think about the young man that see that. Like there's so many mixed messages I think that we get in society that it's a challenge, man. It's a challenge for us to dispel all of these double standards and try to start teaching things the right way. But again, like I said, I openly admitted I was very open and vulgar during that. My wife didn't really chew me out, which I'm surprised. Maybe she's waiting on that, so I don't know. But one of the things that I did make sure that I pointed out was my plan and my vision for my interacting with the next generation of young man. It's nothing like the way that I grew up or was treated by grown men when I was in my adolescent years.
I think by admitting the cycle that we have in front of us is the way to unpack it. I'm not sitting here on my high horse or anything along those lines either. It's like I was also raised in that environment too. Yeah. Like there are always going to be things I'm like, oh, that bullshit that the men gave me is still playing out in the background.
Yeah.
That bullshit that my uncles and my older cousins, they're like love them to death, but like
How do you tune it out though, Bert? Because you mentioned like earlier, you said sex work is still work. Man,
Yeah.
look, I'm gonna tell you like this. I'm not marrying no sex worker. I'm not marrying a stripper. I'm not marrying somebody that is doing sex work for a living.
Mm-hmm. And that's your boundary.
How do you tune that out? Like I said, I think it's too late for me on the double standard piece. But how do you tune that out?
I don't necessarily think it's about necessarily tuning it out. I think recognizing that, like, if it's not for you, unpacking your reasons why that's not for you.
Got it.
I'm just saying, I'm not saying you have to sit down and say, oh, well, this is going to be for me because it has to be for everybody. That is your own relational boundary to say, hey, I don't feel comfortable engaging this relationship because of X, Y, and Z. Maybe it's because it triggers your anxiety. Maybe because it triggers your jealousy. Maybe because it triggers all the situation. It could be anything along those lines. And that's still valid because those are your feelings. But if you say to somebody else, yo,
I got a question.
I don't think nobody should do it, then you're projecting your boundaries on somebody else. Me,
I got a question though.
What's up, bro?
Like, to the point, that I made in the clip, how does if every man is looking for the virtuous woman, and the ones that, the women that made all these mistakes now have changed their mind, their heart, soul, and all that to do better, that deserves that. I mean, how do you fix that? Because you gotta go back to the drawing board. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, no man has been able to marry a virgin like they did back in the day. You know what I mean? So how do you restart that cycle to start getting virtuous men and women together for the future? You know what I mean? That we've already messed up what we've messed up, but what about the future? How do you deal with that?
I think it depends on what you define as virtuous. I think if you define
let me just say, let me define it biblically. I'm talking Proverbs. You know what I mean? Like when I got to be totally honest with you. Whenever you hear me talk, everything I'm talking from my standards, everything, it's all biblical. It is not any thought process. It ain't no gurus. It ain't no papers. It ain't no research papers. It ain't no statistics. It is literally biblical. Now, we just don't have the time where I can, navigate and show you from verse to verse to, the chapter to chapter. But where I'm getting at is, how do we deal with their future? Because I'm going to be honest with you, based off of the Bible, it's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse.
I would say in that avenue, then, if you talk about virtuousness, and this is also from me coming as put my counsel's hat to the side. I'm a preacher's son, so I do know my scripture. So if we talk about the idea of, say, Solomon a virtuous man, he had 300 wives.
Oh no, he in the end he did evil in the eyes of the Lord.
No. If we hold Solomon to this standard and say, hey, Solomon, you can't be remarried, you're not a virtuous man. Or we can't hold men on a pedestal and say your past does not count because you had your time of, for lack of a better word, hoeing around.
Right.
And then at the same time say, nah, Jesus speaking to the woman at the well and she had a history, and say she's not worthy to be in connection with somebody else. I can go biblical too as well. So like when we talk about this kind of angle, like it's very, very important to recognize like what standard are we upholding? Do we have a space to say, hey, what is your relationship with healthy sex and sexuality? And if there is a scenario where like if someone's, for lack of a better word, body count runs real high, my concern is not necessarily about who they've been with. My concern is, what is their relationship with sex as a whole? Are they actually in a space where they can actually communicate what it is they want and or need? And as a man, are you playing tapes in your head about who she's been with? Then that's your own insecurities at play, my guy, because she's with you.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but it sounds like, the man's thought process, in man's idea, in man's, I guess you could say, fight to get to that righteousness, so to speak. We won't make it. You know what I mean? But that's in our way. But with God, all things are possible. Very so I'm following what you're saying, but I
think in terms of righteousness, when we talk about virtuousness and righteousness and things on those lines, I think when you talk about bringing yourself into alignment in terms of your own core values and how that actually shows up in practice. Like if someone says, "Hey, I don't feel comfortable being in a relationship with a sex worker," like, hey, that's your bag, that is your choice, that is your move, and that's where someone wants to be. If there is a scenario, can you communicate with your partner about what you feel comfortable with, uncomfortable with, and recognizing that is your choice to opt in or opt out of that relationship based on what's there? Can you adequately communicate what you feel comfortable with and what you don't feel comfortable with without it going to something controlling with saying, well, if you're going to be with me, you got to close your OnlyFans.
No, I'm saying that, Bert. That's what I'm saying. You have to at least close it. Now, if I accept you as a sex worker, you're gonna at least have to retire. Goddamn it, if you're moving on. Like, come on.
I feel like that. I feel like it's fair because for me, if I'm choosing to enter into a relationship with a former player, bro, you have to retire the belt.
Okay.
You have to retire the belt.
Fair.
But I provide reasons, which that gets back to what Bert is saying. For me personally, I feel like that intercourse is a very spiritual act. Mm-hmm. That's for me. Like you, in that act, you literally open up the gateway to life, which is not just flesh and blood, that's a spirit. And so there has to be some sort of connection going on when you have intercourse with someone. And if you got a whole big body count, you got a whole lot of deliverance and detoxifying that's going to be needed for me, because I'm look, I know what I am. And that is where I feel like the conversation around it.
Sir, we are on camera.
We are still live, sir.
Oh, man, I got carried away.
After the show.
Hey, it sounds like you healed. You ain't really healed. You healed.
Right.
Hey, Joe Smith is going through an issue right now.
What you say?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Joe Smith situation.
That Joe Smith situation is a horrible one, but I don't feel that much empathy for her.
But
she was already
because he knew she was a hoe and he tried to save her.
He knew, and so, but I from taking that out of it, right? Whether he knew before or not, I think just as partners, as a married couple, man, like if you out here, selling your titties for $2.99.
Wait a minute, because now I got a question for the man. What is it about that bothers you?
Well, in Joe Smith's situation,
because you belong to me and I belong to you.
It's possessiveness.
It's possessiveness.
Yes. You belong to me, I belong to you. Absolutely.
Wait a minute, possessiveness.
Wait. I think it's more.
You gotta have a negative connotation to it, like you think. Like a lot of times we say words that tend to have a negative connotation, but in reality, they really don't. Like settling, that's another conversation we can have. But yeah, possession, yes. I belong to you, you belong to me. If you want to look at a negative, you can. If you want to look at a positive, you can. But I belong to you, you belong to me. So yes, I will have a problem.
I think with Joe Smith,
problem.
I think his problem.
My problem is the fact that she's entertaining other men too.
Yeah, she was just massaging Cam naked on his show.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
on his podcast, right?
Yeah, it's a bad situation all around, but I'm gonna tell you like this, man, and here it is. It's my double standard creeping back up. That's why you don't wife up no chick like that. And that's just me, man. Like I'm just going.
Why though? Is it because you feel like she is not powerful enough to change?
Not that. No, it's not that. It's just that JB brought this up, right? He talked about a man's future matters more than his past, right? I think, am I saying that right? A man's future matters or his past matters, right? So as it pertains to sex, the one thing that I feel like is just absolute truth when it comes to sex. Sex is something that is of the flesh, and you can be seduced and fall weak to it. I think for a woman who is hypersexual and for real puts herself out there like that, I think she's gonna have a harder time trying to break that habit later in life. That's just me, and that goes off of my experience in dealing with women that try to take them steps into relationships.
Because they go balls to the wall. Women go balls to the wall.
Hold up. But that's accurate with what Rodney just said, because she had her OnlyFans shut down. She fell on some hard times, started it right back up.
Went right back to it. Like she had shut
Right,
down and
right back
retired,
to it.
but because that was all she knew. It's not
Yes.
part of being human.
Backsliding into
Selling pussy is being human.
It's the oldest job on earth.
Yeah, it's the oldest profession, bro.
Oldest profession.
Oldest profession.
Oldest
The
profession.
first profession.
if I know that I can make money,
Nah, barbering is the oldest
that ain't never
profession. Ain't
gonna
no,
go
nah,
away.
not prostitute.
Shit.
Barbering.
Like, look, men do a lot less for their body count.
Man, I don't want nobody seeing my white titties for $2.99. I'm sorry. Now, what man want that? Right now, I think again in Joe Smith's situation, the issue was not only did she go back to it, she didn't tell him, bro. Like I think that's
for him not to know for a
bottom
year
line.
though was on him. How you not know for a year?
Yeah,
and
he's not
obviously
Because he trusted and respected his wife. That's why.
and obviously it wasn't popping like that because it ain't like they were suddenly out of debt. They were still in debt.
So how
She
did
had
he
it for a
find out?
year.
His homie told him about it. So it's his homie,
Wait, so how
the
is
one
homie?
he was subscribed to.
Right.
He was
That's
subscribed. I mean,
Hey, listen.
Yeah.
What she said in that regard was she had some issues that Joe couldn't help her with. So she wasn't even contributing back into the house with that, y'all.
Yeah, she did. These are her words. She said, we fell on hard times. You wasn't able to fix this situation. So I went back to what I know. Now, again, I don't think anything like to my wife's point, falling back on old habits. Nah, I do think it's a problem with that because I got some old habits that made me some money that I don't think my wife will be okay with me falling back on. I think that the biggest issue in that Joe Smith situation was that she didn't disclose it to him. And I'm standing on that. She got to disclose that to him as her partner, as her husband, that's what she's about to do.
I guess
It should be a mutual
give
decision.
him an opportunity.
What my thought process is though is like you have your boundaries, you have the rules you make for other people, but then you have relationship agreements. Anybody in here who's in a relationship, you have your own specific relationship agreements that you abide by in your particular relationship. And I think when it comes down to that scenario, if you both enter into a relationship and say, yo, we need to be on the same page about this particular thing. Like, I'm not going to go back to trapping if you don't go back to your OnlyFans. We good? We good? Handshake, high five. Boom. That's y'all agreement. That's part of how y'all run y'all show. And if somebody violates that, then you violated trust. Congratulations. You've done something that steps outside of that framework. But if both parties come together and let's say both of y'all sex workers, say he's in the porn industry and she's on OnlyFans and that's how y'all run y'all show, that's how y'all run y'all ship, enjoy. Couldn't be me, but hey, enjoy. But like that's But you want to
Sound
keep
like a sticky ship.
like because that's you want to like everybody runs their household, and this is honestly for me part of just growing up too as a whole is recognizing that everybody's like relationship, marriage, or whatever looks a whole hell of a lot different.
It's all gonna be different. Everybody got their own custom fit, as they should. Everybody should have their own way of doing things.
But being able to be aware of like, you know, if you guys have a particular agreement amongst yourselves in terms of what things look like, it's really just important. Take care of yourself, Donald Bros. Pleasure to meet you. Like, I think if you have these agreements and you are recognizing what these agreements are and you violate on those agreements, then you are accountable for that. So if somebody says, I ain't never going back to selling my OnlyFans pics ever again, I swear on a stack of Bibles, and you go back on it, my beef is not with the OnlyFans. My beef is going back on your word. That's the problem.
Yep, I agree.
I wanted to make one point too. My belief is how you do anything is how you do everything. Okay. And so I mean that's across the board, you know, if you unaccountable in one area, you unaccountable in another area. Sometimes it just might not come out because the situation never occurred for you to see that, but a person usually responds how they are across the board. And so I really feel like in that situation, it was a understanding the hierarchy of a marriage, a submissive issue going on because evidently if she was able to go back to do OnlyFans, she felt she needed to take the lead on her own situation. So somewhere within their marriage, something ain't never been right in that situation, and that piece just happened to be publicized, because that's a public thing. So they probably have always had some type of something going on as far as her doing what she want to do. This just happened to become public, and it is what it is.
Now we all in their business. But
She
making it a little worse though. We do need to wrap up, but I'm gonna just reiterate this. She was just on Cam's podcast giving him a naked massage, man. And he's asking, what's the status of you and your husband? And she like, I just want to have fun right now. And she's still
That's
married.
her across the board. I promise you, she's been like
something ain't right with that. Something ain't right with that. Man, you know what, man? This was a much needed conversation, man. So I definitely appreciate everybody tuning in. Did y'all have any final thoughts? Because we done went over time, man, and we need to wrap it up. But I can't wait till we get back on here for next season. Y'all go ahead. Y'all got some more thoughts, wifey?
I'll say this. I think this statement here wraps up everything we talked about tonight, and it was presented by Sister Nika. She had to go. We do appreciate you. But she told us about the platinum rule, which is learning how to treat people the way they want to be treated instead of treating people the way that I want to be treated or you want to be treated. Really understanding the other person's needs and expectations, and then delivering on those needs and living up to those expectations. And when you are not able to do one or the other or neither, then you can definitely expect there to be some change to the relationship, some consequences. And so, as we're talking about being strong, the perception of strength, as we're talking about protection, as we're talking about detoxifying romantic pursuits and any other area of mental wellness, when you're dealing with another person, make sure that you understand what they need and they want, but also be sure to teach other people what you need and what you want. So that's all I got.
Absolutely. That was a word. So
Like
listen, on that note, man, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Y'all are all family, brothers and sisters. Is exactly that, man. We all siblings, so we should be able to get in here and fuss at each other, hold each other accountable like we've done all season, man. And I look forward to y'all, having these conversations, continuing to have these conversations with y'all, man. So shout out to everybody, man, because I know we took up a bunch of everybody's time tonight, a bunch of everybody's effort. Like I said, I always want to reiterate how much courage it takes for us to have these conversations in these spaces. But I'm proud of us, and man, I hope we heal. So it was a lovely night. And I know everybody ready to get to some football. I'm ready to get to the off season, man, but we will see y'all again next spring. So make sure you get caught up on all of the episodes. We on all of the podcast streaming apps. We also on YouTube and Facebook for right now. So definitely. Wifey, did you have anything else? Did anybody else have anything else?
Peace and blessings, family.
Peace, love, and blessings, man. I hope we heal. We'll see y'all next season.